Welcome, everyone, to the 2015 Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas race review, where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race, looking ahead to the next race. So, I guess as I've been doing for the past 2 months, I'm going to give my thoughts on the race. I actually thought that for the 2015 rules package, I think that this was actually one of the better races, and I think a lot of that has to do with Kansas. I think it started last season. But for some reason, I guess this weekend it was a little bit more obvious that the high groove, at the groove is really widening out now to the point of where drivers can once again, they can go high, they can go low, a lot like what we saw before Kansas was reconfigured 3 years ago. And to me, I think that when you configure your car up high or low, it leads to more of the diversity racing, and it really, I think, actually decreases the aero dependency just a little bit, but not a whole lot. It was definitely, in my opinion, better than the past 3 races, which were New Hampshire, Dover, and Charlotte. And I think it's also, and I guess, but actually, really, I could understand if you said that this race was just not that good, because really, before the second to last green flag run, it really wasn't that much of a race, in my opinion. Because the thing is, Matt Kenseth had dominated. I will actually say that though, maybe the first couple green flag runs were actually pretty interesting, because there were actually a couple of mixed strategies, and it led to some drivers like Carl Edwards and Ryan Blaney, and even Ryan Blaney actually challenging up front for the lead. And I actually thought that was actually pretty fun to watch, in my opinion. And I guess overall, I might as well give my opinion on Kansas, because I don't think I did this back in May. Kansas, I don't think I hate Kansas. In fact, I think I'm pretty neutral on it. But honestly, I wish that Kansas did not have 2 races. Personally, if I had the power to, I would take away its second race date, which means this race in the chase, and replace it with Iowa. And then of course I would make sure that Iowa upgrades its facility, so that way it has the same number of seats, etc., as Kansas does, to basically, I guess you could say, replace for the lost money. And the thing is, honestly, if Iowa was added to the Sprint Cup Series schedule, especially the chase, that would definitely have its pros and cons. But I think, if I'm gonna get into the pros, it would make the chase a bit more interesting having a second short track, because the only short track in the chase is Martinsville, and the thing is, having a second short track, I think it would just make the chase and the races in the chase a bit more interesting, as opposed to a mile-and-a-half racetrack. Because the thing is, mile-and-a-halves are just very aero-sensitive racetracks, and short tracks are just simply as not. And plus, the thing is, I think Iowa is actually a one-of-a-kind racetrack. But anyway, maybe I'll talk more about that down the road in later videos. But anyway, so I guess if there's anything else I'm going to get into, there were also definitely a few things in this race that I'm sure many are going to be talking about, including one event late in the race that chances are, by the time the season's over, it's going to be looked at as maybe one of the top moments of the season, and especially the chase. And it's definitely, I think, going to be talked about throughout this week, entering Talladega. And don't be surprised if you hear about this over and over again. Sorry. Anyway, so now let's get down to business. Talking about what went on before the race. There really actually was not that much to talk about, which sort of surprised me, but then again, it did surprise me, especially after a pretty lackluster Charlotte race last week. There was actually one big event, but the thing is, that event, I think, was so big that I think it needs its own video, and I already did that. The last video I uploaded, 2016 rules package. You can go watch the video. And if you haven't, I actually recommend that you do watch it, because I think it's actually, in my opinion, one of my more well put videos, and I think it actually is pretty well accommodated on, and it gives my opinions out pretty clearly, and I think it has a lot of knowledge and important stuff to know. So definitely give that video a chance. Like, go check it out. I would appreciate it. Anyway, so I think I mentioned the reconfiguration earlier in this video, but since the reconfiguration of Kansas 3 years ago, it's really led to a lot more unpredictability, and it has sort of made this event a wild card. And when I think back to this event in recent years, we've seen events like we've seen strategy races, we've seen races that have a lot of destruction and mayhem, etc. Including stuff like tire failures. Anyway, several teams were penalized, or at least received warnings. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Clint Bowyer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brett Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Jeb Burton, and Tony Stewart. Tony and Brett Keselowski will lose pit stall selection due to receiving 4 consecutive warnings. And then let's get down into practice and qualifying. Keselowski fastest in the opening practice. Then Keselowski won on the pole. Keselowski was fastest in the second practice, and then Johnson narrowly edged Keselowski in the final practice. And when I look at like the top 10 or 12 in practice and qualifying, there were a couple of surprises. For example, Brian Scott. He was actually 5th practice in the opening practice and actually laid down a pretty good lap in qualifying for him in that part-time team or this team with a Children's Alliance part-time, I believe, possibly. Ryan Blaney was once again impressive. He was actually, after the second round qualifying, he was actually fastest. So actually, a small part of me actually thought that he might actually get the pole, which would have been pretty cool. But he couldn't do it. Still an impressive lap. Once again, and the thing is, because of at least these two, and maybe a couple of other drivers, it actually made me a bit more excited for Kansas. Digging out the field could maybe be a little bit more evenly played, if that makes any sense. But anyway, now getting on to the race weekend. Brett Keselowski got a great start. Carl didn't really get that great of a start at all, so allowed Brett Keselowski to pull away. 1 lap later, he would have a 1-second lead. And then all of a sudden, but here comes Harvick and Logano, the two strongest drivers this season. Sorry, I had to get a drink. But the thing is, Brett Keselowski's lead continued to grow, and it would pretty much continue to grow up until about the first caution. And actually, just before the first caution came out, Keselowski lost first and second pretty quickly, and then Kevin Harvick was leading the race up until lap 31, caution number 1. Yeagley is in the wall in the middle of turns 1 2, leaking some kind of fluid. I think this is water. It might be oil. And then we have pit stops coming off the road. The top 2 took 2 tires, Mark Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick. And it was actually the first of some pretty interesting strategies, especially in the early portion of the race. But eventually, during the caution break, a pretty extensive cleanup, I gotta say. And maybe this is actually a precaution to last week's race at Charlotte, where I guess you could call it the oil fiasco, or basically like drivers acclaimed, and I'm sure many fans would agree with this, that NASCAR decided to wave the green flag while there was still oil on the racetrack, and many drivers got up into the oil and actually ruined some of the drivers' days. And maybe this race was sort of a precaution. But the thing is, part of me did feel like that went on a little longer than what it should have been, at least. In fact, I believe I was looking at lap by lap coverage, and I think Keselowski called it like the worst cleanup ever, or something like that. It was interesting. And then on lap number 40, we had the restart, and then Kevin Harvick, Mark Truex Jr. actually battled side by side for about a lap. Harvick would get the lead, and then he would lose the lead around lap 50. Joey got the lead, but then all of a sudden, here comes Matt Kenseth. So here comes Kenseth entering the picture after sort of hanging around 7th before all this, and then Kenseth would try to chase down Logano, but really Logano, he was just sailing away. And then our second caution came out for Tony Stewart. He spun all by himself off turn number 2, and thankfully did not hit anything, but he would go down a lap down or even more. We had pit stops, and then once again, some more interesting strategy. The top four all took 2 tires: Edwards, Keselowski, Blaney, and Ryan Newman. First tire on 4 tires was Matt Kenseth. This would be important, and you'll understand in a second. Restart on lap number 70. Edwards gets going, but here comes Blaney, not letting him get away. And in fact, I think Blaney got all the way up to maybe his right rear quarter panel. That was the closest he ever got to passing Edwards for the lead. And for a moment, I thought he actually would get the lead. And honestly, if Ryan Blaney did get the lead, I think I actually would have been pretty cool. It would have been pretty cool to see that, especially with his limited Cup Series experience, and also for the Wood brothers. But it just didn't happen. Kenseth would get by Edwards on lap number 72, and then Kenseth would just start checking away, and this is really where his domination began. And if you also remember, or if you watched the Xfinity Series race yesterday, Kenseth also dominated the race. So in a way, it wasn't that surprising to see Kenseth be so dominant in this race. And eventually on this green flag run, we eventually learned that really taking 2 tires really did not help. 4 tires was definitely the way to go. Even though these tires aren't exactly soft tires. In fact, I believe before they started, they said that the tires they were using they were actually some pretty hard tires. And usually hard tires don't usually make for a good show anyway. So it was pretty. So in fact, so in a way, it was interesting to see the results of these strategies, in my opinion. And I think some drivers were actually able, for some drivers, the two tire strategy actually worked pretty well. For example, Ryan Blaney and Ryan Keselowski on this green flag run was actually able to stay around the top 5 for the majority of that run. Other drivers like Edwards was just dropping back. And also during this green flag run, we started seeing non-chasers like Johnson and Austin Dillon jumping into the picture, and maybe Casey Kane, but the might have been in a later run, and eventually, the first of a few problems for sophomore Kyle Larson. He got off the pace around lap 90 after almost hitting the wall. And the thing is, there was talk about maybe a right rear tire going down, and eventually I think a tire did go down on lap 109. Caution number 3, Kyle Larson spins pretty much in the exact same location as Tony Stewart did, off turn number 2, and thankfully did not hit anything. But he would eventually go a lot down and really never be able to recover. Pit stops. And once again, Kenseth wins the race off pit road, and a couple of issues regarding some chasers. Gordon had to come back down pit road due to missing lug nuts, and at this point in the race, he was really like a 20. Jeff Gordon was like, he was like a 23rd place car throughout the early portion of the race. And Edwards had a slow pit stop for some reason, and he actually restarted 19th. So ouch. Restart lap 115. I want to look at this. Johnson actually was able. He came off second on the pit stops, and he would hold on to second. McMurray fell off the pace for a strange reason, and actually I don't think they mentioned this during the coverage, but I found this on lap by lap coverage. Matt Beldo actually, I guess, burst the wall with no caution, and then here we go. Casey Kane for the first time cracked the top 10, and also non-chaser Austin Dillon once again having another good run. I'm coming to the conclusion that Austin Dillon's best racetracks are the intermediates or 1.5 mile racetracks, which then again probably should not really surprise me, because the thing is really most of his Xfinity Series wins come on 1.5s. For example, he swept both Charlotte races in the Xfinity Series. And also his first 2 wins in the Xfinity Series were also on 1.5s, Kentucky. So in a way, it actually shouldn't be that surprising to see Austin Dillon running so well on these types of racetracks. He actually ran well at Chicagoland before having a tire failure. And unfortunately, those tire failures will unfortunately not go away. We'll try to chase down Harvick for 4th on lap 151. No, not 51, 155. Austin Dillon blows a right front tire into the wall. His day will be over. He would finish 41st. So once again, the thing is, but once again, I would like to remind maybe some of the viewers watching that, we shouldn't look at like a 41st place finish and look at and be like, oh, Austin Dillon, why it was terrible. Because the thing is, Austin Dillon, especially as of recently, has shown that he's actually had the speed that can get him more top 10 and top 5s. Sometimes, sometimes or a lot of the times he's just unlucky. And then we have pit stops 156, restart up 160. Jimmy Johnson almost got the lead, but got loose underneath Matt Kenseth a lap after the restart, and Kenseth will be able to keep the lead, and Johnson lost a couple spots. And unfortunately, more problems for the Chasers, and this one was Dale Earnhardt Jr., who if you remember, had a very struggling race last week at Charlotte. And so once again, more issues, and this time it was for a loose wheel, I believe, and then he was coming out of turn number 2. He was throughout most of the before this he was maybe just outside the top 10 throughout most of the day on the outside, and then all of a sudden he washed the racetrack, did not hit anything, thankfully, and would have to come down pit road. And the thing is, this would put him a couple laps down, and this is really going to hurt him entering Talladega. But eventually, several laps later, caution number 5, and this was probably, I guess you could definitely say, the worst wreck of the day. Clint Bowyer gets loose, and Clint Bowyer, he was running maybe just somewhere maybe between like 10th and 20th. He gets loose all by himself, and then overcorrects it. Hits the outside wall hard, exiting turn number 2, and actually it was so hard that his rear tires actually got off the ground. It's been a while. I think it's been a while since that has happened. Kansas, I believe. But thankfully, Cooper was able to walk away. And unfortunately, like one thing I would like to see out of Bowyer, though, I think he could do it, is just simply like, okay, fine. So the thing is, he's not gonna. So obviously he got eliminated after Dover, so he's not going to win a championship. And Michael Walter Racing is never going to win a championship. But I would like to. But hopefully, maybe in these final few weeks, he can at least get like some top 5s, or maybe even a win. Who knows? It could come next week at Talladega. It's the great equalizer. I would like to see that for his team, for him, but also Michael Walter Racing. It would be a good way to go out. But anyway, after this caution, some of the drivers towards the back half of the field, like Newman, Keselowski, and Gordon, all came up here, but the leaders chose to stay out. And here we go, restart. And this time, Logano, I guess in a way, this was sort of like the first time, and I guess you could say maybe a preview for what happened much later in the race. Logano tries to pass Mackenzie, and thing is, he was able to grab the lead with the help of Harvick down the backstretch after the restart, but eventually Kenseth got right by. He got right by Logano a couple laps later, up 183, and then they were side by side for a couple laps. And so the thing is, this was, in my opinion, pretty entertaining to watch, watching these two drivers go at it. And then during this, I guess you'd say, run, there were a couple times where Kenseth let a lap and Logano let a lap, which led to a couple more lead changes, which is always good. But eventually, on lap 195, Matt Kenseth was able to retake the lead, and then once again he was able to just pull away, and then Johnson, not too long after that, was actually able to take second away from Logano. And then Casey Kane and Danny Hamlin were actually starting to really creep their way into the top 5, or they actually were in the top 5. And then the first of at least 2 issues that I caught Kyle Busch having, issues with the engine, or at least temperatures. And the first time he was able to clear some trash on his grill from lapping David Gilliland, and eventually on their fuel window, the leaders started coming up pit road, and eventually during the cycle pit stops, there were actually a couple other interesting strategies. It was not just like lead one lap and then come down pit road. Actually, a couple drivers actually chose to lead a couple laps. Ryan Blaney, Carl Edwards, and Paul Menard. And eventually, during the cycle of agreement pit stops, more chase implications. Harvick penalized for removing equipment from the box. 1 lap later, Martin Truex Jr. penalized for an uncontrolled tire. And the thing is, this would cause them to both come up pit road, and it would trap both drivers a lap down. And as I said, Blaney led a couple laps, Edwards led a couple laps, and Menard led a couple laps. And the thing is, drivers like Blaney, Edwards, and Menard, they actually pitted on the same time that I said that at the back half of the field came up the road. And the thing is, during this group run, and when Kenseth regained the lead, which you got the lead back on lap 231, they had pitted. With the amount of laps to go when they pitted, it was pretty much right at their fuel window. In fact, I believe before Harvick got penalized, they said that Harvick might actually be 1 lap short. So who knows? Had the last caution not to come out, it could have been a fuel mileage race, and that has happened. There was one time it was actually the 2006 race. It actually came out to the fuel mileage, and a couple drivers ran out of fuel right in front, and actually Tony Stewart actually crossed. He won the race and crossed the start finish line out fuel. And so there was at least a decent possibility that could have happened, and that definitely could have shaken things up. And actually, when I heard that, I was actually hoping that it actually could go green, but the thing is, unfortunately, that did not happen. Caution number 6: Justin Allgaier gets sideways and backs it. He does not back it into the wall, but the thing is, he hits the wall with the back end, which would eventually create another caution. And the thing is, this is where things got interesting. Was anyone going to pit, and who was going to, if anyone was going to stay out, who stayed out? And the thing is, was some of the chasers like Harvick and Truex 1 lap down? It was just simply all going to create a very interesting scenario. And so the thing is, here is what I can remember. Everyone but Jimmy Johnson comes down pit road, so Jimmy Johnson stays out. And to me, I think that there are actually a couple reasons why Johnson did this. I don't think it was going to work, and I'm pretty sure Johnson had a good feeling that it was not going to work, and it wasn't going to help him in the race. The thing is, here's the thing: Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon are teammates. Johnson got eliminated. Jeff Gordon is actually still in the chase. And the thing is, Johnson might have done that just to help Jeff Gordon get good finish, because really, when I think about it, had Jimmy Johnson had everyone came down pit road, Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick would have been able to take the wave around. And the thing is, if they took the wave around, I don't know if both would have gone back on. I don't know. Both drivers would have gone back on the lead lap, and thus because they were much better than Jeff Gordon, would have passed Jeff Gordon and would have put Jeff Gordon in a pretty bad spot entering Talladega. And so the thing is, I think that might have been the biggest reason why Johnson stayed out, was to help his teammate Jeff Gordon, which in that case, smart strategy. And then here we go. Restart on lap 248. Kenseth grabs the lead off turn number 2, as I'm sure many expected. But all of a sudden, here comes Logano. And to me, my best guess is to me on this restart, or actually on the cycle of pit stops under the caution before the restart, Logano and his team must have had made adjustments to really improve his car, because the thing is, this was the first time, really, the whole entire race long, or I guess you could say this was the first time all race long that Logano was able to chase down Matt Kenseth. And the thing is, this went on for about like 15 laps. And the thing is, this is where things got very intense. And the thing is, we saw a very similar situation in the Xfinity race yesterday between Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth. They went on and on for about 10 plus laps as well. And the thing is, I gotta say, and because this isn't something that us fans really have not really seen a whole lot this season, I believe. This was, I would say, definitely. I think it was definitely fun to watch. It was just simply good old hard racing, battling for the win. And the thing is, there was also there was nothing on the line for Logano. Logano did not need to win the race. He had already locked his spot into the eliminator round because of his last one at Charlotte. Kenseth, on the other hand, kind of is pretty much in like a must-win situation after finishing like 41st or 42nd. Maybe it was 40th. I can't exactly remember at Charlotte after having several problems. And so the thing is also like Logano, because Logano has nothing to lose, he could just go out there and go for the win. And eventually, after racing so hard for so many laps, Logano came close on a couple times. One time, Logano I think got alongside Kenseth entering turns 1, 2. I cannot remember what lap this was on. And all of a sudden, Kenseth through the block down the backstretch, and Logano actually got pretty close to the wall. But then here's when. But then all of a sudden, here's when things really got dramatic. And actually, I'm not going to fine. I cannot show you this on the screen. But the thing is, I'm actually going to watch. I'm actually going to watch this and sort of commentate about this because I actually wasn't able to. It would have taken up a lot of the paper. So here we go. Off turn number 2 with 5 laps to go, or the next time around it would have been 5 laps to go. Had to get another drink, so I'm actually going to slow down the speed here. So the thing is, they started approaching lap traffic, and the thing is, Kenseth, I believe said that he was trying to get a draft off of the lap car. I don't know who the lap car is. It might have been Reed Sorensen. Yeah, I think it was. And so the thing is, he tries to get a draft, but the thing is, Logano also got a great run off turn number 4. And the thing is, when you go down there with lap cars, you do put yourself in a pretty bad position. And then all of a sudden, here comes Logano. He has a big run and is going to try to pass Kenseth on the high side because there wasn't much room on the bottom at the time when Kenseth was trying to get the draft off of Reed Sorensen. And all of a sudden, here comes Logano on the high side here, and all of a sudden, Kenseth decides to throw a big block. And the thing is, Kenseth pretty much uses the whole entire racetrack, and the thing is, it causes Logano to actually make contact with the wall, and Kenseth actually almost got on the wall as well. And the thing is, it wasn't that hard, so obviously Logano did not halt the pace, and all of a sudden Logano was trying to do the crossover, and all of a sudden now, entering turns 1 and 2, he is now on the left rear quarter panel of Matt Kenseth. And eventually, contact was made. Kenseth goes around and did a good job at saving the car. But the thing is, Logano was able to avoid it all, and Kenseth, and then from that point, we knew that Kenseth was not going to win, and Logano had just got the lead. And the thing is, really, so the thing is, there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions that we can ask. And the thing is, there may not be enough answers. And the thing is, for example, here could be some of the questions. Did Joey do that on purpose? Should Joey Logano have done that? Should Kenseth have done the block? Was Kenseth being over aggressive? Was Logano being over aggressive? Like I said, so many questions. And to me, I think personally, my take on it was, I think once Kenseth threw that block, and when Logano hit the wall, because Kenseth, I guess, I don't know, I kind of felt like that Kenseth was being very aggressive, trying to keep Logano behind him. Because to me, I think Kenseth knew that Logano at that point had the faster car, and if Kenseth lets Logano go by while finishing second is better than finishing 12th. The thing is, if Kenseth finishes second, Kenseth is 22. Kenseth would still be 22 points behind the cutoff line. And the thing is, and thing is Kenseth would like to have that win so he doesn't have to worry about Talladega. And so the thing is, there's a good reason for Kenseth to be blocking and racing Logano so aggressively. And the thing is, in Logano's case, while you could say that because Logano was already locked in, there was no reason for Logano to race like that. But the thing is, think about this. Matt Kenseth this season, just before this happened, had 5 wins. 5 wins. And the thing is, really ever since the summer, Matt Kenseth, by guessing the way, also, fine, it's not just Matt Kenseth, but it's the entire JGR organization. They've really been on fire. But the thing is, I think Matt Kenseth entering this race, I saw Matt Kenseth as the best Gibbs car, and definitely when Kenseth was out there up front dominating the race, it definitely would have proved that. And the thing is, Logano, I think, also wants to beat Kenseth because the thing is, like, let's say Kenseth does get eliminated after Talladega. One of the biggest threats to win the championship entering the chase is gone. That's gonna take off a lot of pressure off Logano, knowing that there's like one less competitor Logano has to worry about. And in fact, entering Dover and then after Dover, there were at least a couple of drivers, I believe, that actually said that they were trying to eliminate Harvick because the thing is, Harvick is probably also one of if not the biggest threat to win the title. So the thing is, under this chase format, there's not only the incentive to go out there and win. There's also the incentive, if I'm even using that word correctly, to knock people out or to take people out of contention. Maybe not by wrecking them, but just simply keeping them in your rearview mirror. And the thing is, if that isn't Logano's reason, then to me Logano simply got fed up with Kenseth. And to me, I can understand why he did that. Because chances are, I probably would have done the same thing as well. If I got raced like that, and if I got like put in the wall. So overall, it helped Logano, did not help Kenseth. And the thing is, after the race, Kenseth said something like, "I'm no longer a fan of Logano." Logano said in victory lane, I wasn't going to put up with it. It's overall, and I think it's obviously, when something like this happens, there's going to be two sides to it, not only among the drivers but also among the fans. So overall, it's going to make next week very interesting. Are we going to see maybe some payback? I doubt it, especially since because Talladega is super speedway. If you take someone out, you're going to most likely collect like 15 like our car. So in a way, it's not even probably like worth it. But the thing is, there are other ways to maybe like pay back or not help someone else, and that is just simply like if someone goes to the outside, don't go with them, and that will cause them to drop spots. So maybe if Kenseth and Logano are in the race late stages, and if Logano tries to pass the leader, do you know what? Kenseth might just be like, do you know what? I'm not helping you. Who knows? And we could see that Talladega. I think it is possible. But anyway, anyway, and I guess really, if there's anything else to touch upon the incident, the incident itself, I think simply reminded me a lot of Earnhardt and Terry Labonte in the 1999 Bristol night race. And I think it's in a way a very similar situation happened. Obviously, in 1999 there was no chase. But the thing is, when I think about it, in 1999, Earnhardt and Terry Labonte were not in the title fight at that point, I believe. And the thing is, when I think about it, winning can really go a long way, because the thing is, you're just going to be ever so closer to possibly winning that title. And the thing is, obviously, both drivers, like in the case of Logano and Kenseth, were two of the best cars in that race. And the thing is, it wasn't Earnhardt's intention to spin Terry Labonte and create that melee down the backstretch. And the thing is, it may not have been Logano's intention to wreck Kenseth. But the thing is definitely, the thing is, just like the thing is one thing that they do have in common. One driver got into the other driver, the other driver spun, and thus ruined their chance of both winning the race and definitely hurting their chance of winning the championship. Anyway, let's get on to what happened after the race. So that brought the 7 caution, and then set us up for green, white, checkered. And the thing is, if I remember this correctly, like the top 2, like Logano was leading, and Logano was not penalized. And the thing is, Denny Hamlin, who really, I would say, pretty much like all day long, we didn't really like see that much of him. He was all of a sudden in second place. And the thing is, on the final restart, Logano got a great restart. But the thing is, it wasn't easy for Logano to get away. Hamlin was right there. And the thing is, had Logano maybe had slipped, who knows? We could have been talking about Hamlin in victory lane. The thing is, it just simply did not happen. And as they're going 3 and 4 wide in the back of the field, Logano comes to the checkered flag, and Logano is the winner at Kansas. Back-to-back wins, first ever time in his career. He now has 5 wins, which ties him for most wins in a season. He had 5 wins last season. And the thing is, this also blocks or prevents anyone else from clinching a spot entering Talladega. So the thing is, it's going to make Talladega a bit more interesting, and it's definitely going to make the incentive to win even more important. And the thing is, if you look at the chase, if you look at the 12 drivers in the chase, really no one's safe other than Logano, because the thing is, like, Danny Hamlin, he's only 18 points above the cutoff line, and the thing is, 18 points it's 18 positions, and even that's almost half the field. If you remember, last year, Kyle Busch had 2 good races, did not win those 2 races, but the thing is he got caught in a wreck and thus did not make the next round. And actually last round, Johnson had 2 pretty good races. And the thing is, because of a mechanical failure, he did not make the next round. So the thing is, really entering a even if you have like 2 good races and did not win, that still is sometimes not enough. So, and obviously, so it's Hamlin, Busch, Edwards, Kurt Busch, Edwards, Harvick, Gordon, Keselowski, and Truex. And the thing is, 9th through 12th, Kyle Busch, Ryan Newman, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth. Some pretty big names. And the thing is, Talladega next week, it's the big wild card. Anything could happen at Talladega at any moment. And the thing is, you could go from being safely inside the chase 8 to all of a sudden be wiped out like that, or maybe it's not. In fact, it's not just like getting caught in the big one, because for example, last year's race at Talladega, Casey Kane coming off turn number 4 on the final lap was actually in the chase, but all of a sudden no one decided to go with him. He lost a couple spots, and guess what? Those couple spots make the difference. Kane did not make the chase. So really, I think that we're not going to know our chase 8 until the checker flag is waved. So overall, it's going to be interesting, and I think it's definitely. I think that, and I think just like the last round, we're going to have at least one big name, not advancing. and from our last season, Johnson and Junior, which at that time both of them had accumulated 3 wins that at that point last year were out. So to me, it's very likely. So it's definitely going to be something interesting to watch. But anyway, I guess maybe I would like to actually get my focus back to Kansas a little bit and actually maybe talk about at least a couple of things. First of all, one thing that I don't like about the chase, or maybe this isn't really like the chase fault. It might be like I guess maybe I should be blaming NBC, but the thing is I just don't like about how like when the chase starts, if you're not in the chase or if you got eliminated from the chase, you're never going to get mentioned because the thing is, look at some of the drivers that got good finishes. Jimmy Johnson got 3rd place and was running up front most of the day. Casey Kane, he got his first top 5 since the spring Dover race, and with how much of a struggling season he's had, I think Casey Kane definitely deserves a mention. I think is also look at this. Ryan Blaney, only his 2nd career top 10, and like I said earlier, Ryan Blaney does not have a whole lot of experience in the Cup Series. And the thing is, the Wood Brothers is definitely not a team that we the Wood Brothers these days is not a team that we expect to run up front. And so the thing is, I felt like Blaney definitely deserved a mention after the race was over. And how about Brian Scott? He may not have had a top 10 car, but the thing is, he actually got his best career finish in 12th. I actually thought that was actually worth a mention as well. So to me, I kind of feel like if there are some like cons about NBC's coverage, it's sort of that. I kind of feel like that like there should be like a rule, like there should be like a rule that's like the top 5, regardless of who finishes in the top 5, is guaranteed an interview. I think I would like to see that. Unless there are like some reasons why. But anyway, I guess enter Talladega, who I think is gonna win. If I really have to choose anyone, I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think I'm just gonna have to go with Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was very good. He finished 3rd in the Daytona 500, and I believe definitely led a lot of laps. And then Talladega, and then Talladega in the spring, and then Daytona in July, she was just dominant and won both races. So to me, I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is probably the safest pick. But the thing is, other than that, I really, it's kind of hard to really predict anyone else. And if a chaser is not going to win, I think one thing that would be cool is if we could have maybe another maybe another David Reagan or another or another like 2009 Brett Keselowski. I would like to see some. I would like to see something. I would like to see like that type of winner. Just to add another winner to the winners list, because actually we've actually not had a new winner since Kyle Busch at Sonoma, and that was like 4 months ago. So so it's been a long time since we had a winner, and Talladega is probably the best, maybe the last chance we could have one. Anyway, this went on longer than I thought it was going to be, but I still hope you enjoyed watching this. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye. See you at Talladega.